Today, we're diving into a very modern and, let's be honest, a very personal mystery. That feeling that time itself is speeding up and our lives, well, they feel like they're vanishing right along with it.
You know this feeling. I mean, you really know it. The day's over, you've been busy, right? Constantly moving, your phone buzzing, screens glowing with one task after another. And yet, when you finally stop for a second and think back, the day just feels hollow. It's a blur of frantic little moments that never quite stuck, that never really formed into a solid memory, and you're left with this one single, haunting question. Where did all those hours actually go? What did I really do today?
But here's the thing, that feeling of lost time, it isn't just you. It's not some personal failure or you being bad at time management. It is the result of a massive historical shift, a deep acceleration of society that started long before the first smartphone ever lit up a room.
For most of human history, time was, well, it was natural. It was cyclical, right? Governed by the sun coming up, the seasons turning, the rhythm of planting and harvesting. But then the Industrial Revolution came along and just shattered that natural clock. With the invention of railways and the factory whistle, time was suddenly ripped from its organic home and turned into something else entirely. It became linear, quantifiable, a resource to be measured and squeezed for every last second. Then, the digital age showed up with this grand promise. It was going to save us time, automate everything, and free us up for a richer life. And yet, look at us today. The smartphone has become the new, relentless master of our time. It dictates almost every single moment, from the alarm that jolts us awake to the endless scroll that lulls us into a restless sleep.
And this really gets to the core conflict of our modern lives. We were promised efficiency, but what did we actually get in return? Does this relentless, tech-fueled speed actually make our existence better? Or is it silently, systematically stealing its depth, its meaning, and its texture? So, how did this happen? How did we get here? To figure that out, we have to look under the hood, at the very architecture of our digital world, at the mechanisms that are specifically designed to keep us accelerated and, well, distracted. Let's start with the number that is, frankly, staggering. 2,617. That's how many times the average person touches, taps, or swipes their phone screen in a single day. Think about that. Each touch is a tiny pull from the physical world into the digital one. It's not one big thing, it's a relentless barrage of micro-interruptions, and each one is fragmenting our reality into 1,000 tiny little pieces.
And the consequence of that is just profound. Studies are now showing that our focus is broken on average every 7 minutes. Before you can truly sink into a task or a deep thought or even a real conversation, a notification dings, a message pops up. That urge to just check a feed bubbles up. Your brain is constantly being yanked out of the present moment and into what you could call another moment. And when you're always being pulled into the next thing, the now, which is the only place life actually happens, it just vanishes.
And all this fragmented attention has literally, measurably reshaped our minds. You know, back in the year 2000, before the smartphone really took over, the average human attention span was about 12 seconds. Today, it's fallen to just 8 seconds. Now, to put that in perspective, a goldfish, yes, a goldfish, can hold a thought for 9 seconds. The culture of endless scrolling of TikToks and Reels has trained our brains for such rapid-fire shifts that a goldfish can now literally focus longer than we can.
So, what's the neurological mechanism driving all this? Well, it all comes down to something called the dopamine feedback loop. The neuroscience is crystal clear on this. Every notification, every like, every little ping gives your brain a tiny hit of a pleasure chemical called dopamine. This reward trains your brain, kind of like a lab rat pressing a lever, to crave more and more of these small, easy rewards. It literally rewires our neural pathways to value novelty and constant new stuff over the harder but much more rewarding work of deep, sustained focus. We're actually conditioning ourselves to prefer the superficial over the profound. Okay, but this rewiring, it doesn't just mess with our productivity. It is fundamentally changing our internal world. So let's take a look at the psychological consequences of living inside this giant machine of acceleration. The core finding of the research we're about to look at is both incredibly simple and, honestly, terrifying. Through our addiction to constant external stimulation, our minds have started to lose the ability to tolerate a very unwelcome guest. A guest that is, of course, always with us, our own consciousness. To really understand how deep this runs, just consider this deeply unsettling experiment from the University of Virginia. The setup was brutally simple.
They asked participants to just sit alone in a quiet, empty room for 15 minutes. That's it. No phones, no books, no distractions. Just them and their thoughts. They were given one other option, though. A small button they could press to give themselves a mild but definitely unpleasant electric shock.
And here is the truly dystopian outcome. A significant number of the participants chose to press that button. They chose to inflict physical pain on themselves rather than endure 15 short minutes of quiet solitude inside their own head. So the crucial point is this. The experiment reveals a whole new psychological state. We have become so used to the constant noise of technology, the endless fire hose of information, that the silence of our own minds has become unbearable. We would literally rather feel pain than feel our own presence.
But this frantic race against ourselves isn't the only way to live. For centuries, philosophers, artists, and thinkers have been critiquing this cult of speed and championing a powerful alternative, the wisdom of slowness.
You know, thinkers have been warning us about this for ages. The sociologist Hartmut Rosa calls it social acceleration, this frantic race to do more stuff in less time, not to get more free time, but just to stay in the race. We end up just consuming our own lives faster. The philosopher Martin Heidegger argued that when we reduce time to the tick-tock of a clock, just a resource to be managed, we sever our connection to the time of being, that deeper rhythm of existence itself. And in Zen Buddhism, slowness isn't a problem to be solved, it is the solution. It's a way to harmonize with life's natural flow, like patiently watching tea brew.
The novelist Milan Kundera drew this incredibly direct link between the pace of our life and how our minds work. For him, speed is the engine of forgetting. When we move too fast, experiences just blur together. They don't have time to sink in, to become actual memories. They just become superficial data points. Slowness, on the other hand, is the absolute key to remembering. It creates the space and the depth needed for a meaningful memory to form. And hey, remember that 8-second attention span we talked about earlier? Kundera's principle explains the real consequence of that. A life lived at that speed is a life that is constantly being erased. Kundera put it into this simple, powerful formula for our time. Speed is to forgetting, as slowness is to remembering. It's not just a nice thought, it's practically a law of human experience. The faster we go, the less we retain. And the less we retain, the less we have truly lived. And you know what? Powerful counter-movements have sprung up in resistance to this. In cinema, a director like Tarkovsky used these incredibly long, slow shots to make time itself a visible character in his films. In gastronomy, the slow food movement fought back, reclaiming the meal as a rich experience, not just fuel to be consumed quickly. And this has all blossomed into the wider slow living movement, which tries to apply that same principle of depth over speed to every aspect of our lives. And so, this all brings us to the final great paradox of our era, and to a fundamental choice we all have to make about how we want to inhabit our own lives. The ultimate irony of our technological age is this. The very machine of acceleration has now turned its attention to the things that were supposed to be our refuge from it. Think about it. A device like an Apple Watch promises to optimize your sleep, manage your breathing, and quantify your meditation. It literally offers to accelerate tranquility. The logic of the factory has invaded our last safe havens, our very moments of peace. And so we come right back to that essential choice, framed so perfectly by Kundera. To be fast means to forget. To be slow means to remember. Which path are we going to choose?
Each buzz of a notification, each frantic scroll, each moment we choose speed over presence, it's an act of erasure. It thins out the substance of our experience. It erases the thick, bold lines of a life fully lived, and it leaves only faint, fragile shadows in their place.
The very tools we invented to save us time have instead made life itself feel faster, more fleeting, more gone. So we have to ask ourselves the most vital question of all. In our desperate rush to save time, are we, in fact, simply consuming our own lives?